At one point in my early 20s, I was like, man, for one thing, I was playing drum and bass too fast back then, listening to a bunch of Dieselboy compilations who he sped it up to like 180 and 190, which was amazing. I thought that's what the tempo was for drum and bass. Turns out it's not. It's about 174 is the prime one, 172. Got a message from Kyle. Kyle says, KJ, there was a drum system you talked about in the drum clinic of yours at Musicians Institute way back. Yeah. What was the system you use? I'm trying to show it to my drum teacher. I think the system was linear drumming. Or can you remember? It's like a system you in particular use or invented. Well, I can't take credit for really anything on the drum set because it all comes from Buddy Rich, right? Max Roach, Neil Peart. Linear playing, I talk a lot about linear playing. Because it's a big part of my playing. And so basically the linear, I've done a lot of videos on this, but people can't seem to get enough of what it is and how to play it because a lot of people struggle, I think, with drum and bass. It's different than just a sped up rock beat. Straight, normal beat is like this. Linear beat is you have no two notes hit at the same time. So I'm going to take off my right hand on the kick drum and on the snare drum. And what's nice about the linear is, for me, it feels like a flow. I'm also putting an accent on 3, which is a really big accent in drum and bass. I'll put it on a different instrument. So faster. So that's all linear. Otherwise, it would sound kind of like this. Coco is going around painting, touch-up painting around the house. Amazing. So they both sound cool, honestly. And then here's linear. It's a little easier to play linear because only the fact that there's less notes. It doesn't necessarily mean it's easier, but it can pull a little weight off the constant pounding of solid eighth notes. Like that, which is drum and bass. At one point in my early 20s, I was like, man, for one thing, I was playing drum and bass too fast back then, listening to a bunch of Dieselboy compilations who he sped it up to like 180 and 190, which was amazing. I thought that's what the tempo was for drum and bass. Turns out it's not. It's about 174 is the prime one, 172. Painting P, what is up? That's so funny because we were just talking about painting. How random. Big up and do a dubstep beat. Sure. That's a dubstep beat. And this is drum and bass beat. $174, you know the score. Here's the thing with 87 versus 174. It's the same thing, but it's not. Because when you're counting, it's all about the count. So 87 is a beat. This is 87. How you count a BPM is by quarter notes. And we're going to go 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the backbeat of any beat is usually on the 2 and 4. And if you double time the beat, You can double time the counting, which double times the BPM, right? Now, sometimes you can play a halftime beat, which the beat is going to hit on 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So now I'm counting in 174. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But I'm playing 87. And now I'll count in 174, play 87, and then count in 87 to match 87. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's what it is. That's the difference between 174 and 84, or anything 80, 160, 100, 200. Now, it depends on, so if you're making dubstep, or if you're making anything halftime, dub is usually a halftime beat, which means slow. But if you want to produce it in regular time, not halftime, you can produce it at 87. So the snares are going to fall on 2 and 4. Now, if you produce a halftime beat, let's say like drum step, at the tempo of 174, your backbeat is going to fall on 3, which makes producing a little awkward for me, maybe not for anybody else. But I like to have that backbeat hit on 2 and 4. So if I'm playing a normal time beat at 174, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if I want to do a dub beat or halftime beat, it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And sometimes, so if I'm in the DAW and I'm producing a 174 normal time beat and it has a part in the middle where it goes halftime, I'm not going to go up there and change the tempo to then half time. I could if I wanted to, then the bars are just going to be twice as long. So that's it. So I learned a long time ago about music, how to write music, what is a bar, what is a measure, what is a quarter note, eighth note, and everything like that. When I teach drums, I talk in specific music language. A lot of times if you're a producer and don't have that experience of knowing what eighth notes, 16th notes, 32nd notes, all you're doing is looking in the DAW and you see those numbers and it makes sense, right? It's just basic math. But you might not realize the history of what a normal time beat is, which is backbeat on 2 and 4, versus a halftime beat, which is backbeat on 3. And then a double time beat is actually going to be the beat on 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's double time right there. You could also do double time at a slower, so it all depends on what your tempo is and what beat you're playing with the tempo. I hope that clears some stuff up. But you know what? You can just throw all that frickin' out the window and call it nonsense if you're making some frickin' awesome music that you personally love in your DAW and you're calling it some other thing. Honestly, that's what music is. For me, music is art. It really doesn't have any rules. Now, basic math truly is basic math, but there's so much room for interpretation. Theory is just a guideline. Thank you, Kyle. That's exactly right. That's very good.